Hello, mathematicians. Hey, we are going to go ahead and get started on page 232. We're going to be looking at dividing decimals by one-digit numbers, and we're going to be taking some time to look at decimals dividing by two-digit numbers. So you are going to need your book, a pencil, and a great attitude as always, so we can get started. So again, page 232, and here we go. Okay. All right. We're going to skip that first page, but we're going to do a quick check-in, should you per se, about how the algorithm to dividing is, or what the algorithm to dividing is. So remember, does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers on Sunday? So we divide, we multiply, subtract, check, bring down, start over. Start over. So divide, multiply, check, or subtract, check, bring down, start over. Go ahead and put that. Again, what I'm writing on my paper, you're writing on your paper. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and get started right away. You've already been working with dividing whole numbers by whole numbers. So now we're just going to change it just a little bit, and we are going to add in division with a decimal. But nothing really changes it. I mean, there's a little tweak, but it's super easy, okay? So it's just going to be the same thing. We're just going to add one more very small minor step, okay? So let's take a look. It says, when dividing a decimal by a whole number, divide as with the whole numbers. Then place the decimal in the quotient directly above its place in the dividend. Okay, so let's review. Let's say I had 85 divided by 9. Okay, and the answer is the quotient. Inside is the dividend. Again, I still want you to do this. And the number on the outside is known as the divisor. Okay, so what does that mean? What does it look like? All we're going to do is take that decimal point and put it directly above where it's at in the dividend. We're moving it up into the quotient. That's it. And then we're just going to divide. We're going to pretend it's not even there. So what does that look like? It looks like this. Here's this first problem. You have 6 8/10 divided by 2. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take this decimal point and move it directly above and place it right there. And then you're going to divide. So you're going to ignore that decimal point, but you're going to divide each of those numbers out. So you would take 6 divided by 2, and you got 3, and you would subtract, and you would bring down, and then you would do 8 divided by 2, which is 4, and you would get 3.4. So all we're doing is the basic division. All we're doing is taking that decimal point and moving it up. That's it, friends. Okay, so let's take a look at 7 5/10, which I'm going to come over here. 7 5/10 divided by 3. Okay, so first things first, since it is a decimal that we're dividing by, we're just going to move that decimal point above. There's no decimal in the divisor, so I'm just going to move it straight up. So now I'm going to go through each of these like it's a whole number. So 7 divided by 3. So if I have 7 and I divide it by 3, I know that it goes in twice. So 2 times 3 is 6. And I'm going to subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. Now I check. Okay? I check to see if this number that I subtracted is less than my divisor. Is it? Is 1 less than 5? Yes. So now I'm going to bring down. So now I bring down a 5. Now I have 15. If I have 15 and I divide it by 3, I'm going to take that and I'm going to get 5. So 5 times 3 is 15, and I'm left with 0. So therefore, my answer for 7 5/10 divided by 3 is 2 5/10. Okay, now let's take a look at letter B. And we're going to kind of go over here. So we're going to do 3 5/10 divided by 7. First things first, we're just going to take that division, or take that decimal and move it up Just move it straight on up. Okay? Now I have 3. Can I make a group of 7? No. I'm going to place a 0 there because I do not have a whole number. All right, remember we have decimals. You have your whole number and the decimal, which is showing your fractional part. So now I have 35. So 35 divided by 7 is, let's see, it is 5. Nope, not 5. 6. No, not 6. It is 5. I was seeing who was paying attention. Yes, it is 5. 5 times 7 is 35. And I'm left with 0. So I have 0 and 5/10. I hope you guys were paying attention. If you weren't, get with me. I know, division, it's so exciting. All right, let's take a look at the next one. You have 9 and 8/10 divided by 2. So 9 and 8/10 divided by 2. I'm going to take that decimal point and I'm just going to move it on up. Okay? So here we go. I have 9 and I'm dividing it by 2. So I know that that goes in 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. I'm going to subtract and I'm left with 1. Now I check. Is 1 less than 2? Yep. So now I bring down my 8. Now I have 18. Now I'm going to start over. Okay? So I have 18 divided by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. I'm going to subtract and I'm left with 0, which means 9 and 8/10 divided by 2 is 4 and 9/10. Okay, so what changes here? Let's talk about it. Dividing a decimal by a 2-digit number. So this is where we might have to annex a 0, okay? And so let's talk about what that looks like. The decimal point in the quotient is placed directly above its place in the dividend, okay? That's true. We're just going to take that when we're dividing by a whole number, we're just going to move it straight up. In real-world situations where the division does not result in a remainder of 0, we're going to round the quotient to a specific place. So, taking a look at this, okay, you have 7 and 7/10. That is so sloppy. Let's try that again. 7 and 7/10, and we're dividing it by 14. So, notice what they did. They moved that decimal point straight up. They know that if I have 7, I cannot make a group of 14. So now I'm going to move on. So here we go. Now I'm going to take 77 and figure out how many times I can divide it by 14. And it's going to be 5. 5 times 14 is 70. And then I'm going to subtract and I'm left with 7. Now I still have a remainder, which means I need to annex a 0. I cannot have a remainder with a decimal. You've never seen anything written like this. 0 and 5/10 remainder 7. No, you cannot do that. We have to annex zeros until we have nothing left. Okay? Until we have nothing left, or we realize it's going to be a repeating decimal, or we realize it's never going to end. Okay? Then that's when we stop. So now I annexed my 0. Remember, annex means to add a 0. So I'm going to bring down and I'm at 70. I just know that 5 times 14 is 70. And so when I subtract, I'm at 0. Do I need to annex any more zeros in my dividend? No, I do not need to annex any more zeros in my dividend. Okay? All right. Let's move on and do a couple of practice problems together. So turn to page 234, which is right here. Okay, we're going to do a couple of the guided practice problems together. Okay, I don't have a lot of room, so I'm going to kind of work over here. So I'm going to look at my papers. You can write down below, go ahead and write up above. You can write in here, you can write in here or over here. I don't have a lot of room. I like to write big. That's just me. So I'm going to kind of write over on this side. So our first problem, problem number 1, is 3 and 6/10 divided by 4. So I'm going to actually rewrite that. So my dividend is here and my divisor is here. There we go. So first things first, move that decimal point up. If I have 3, can I make a group of 4? No. Okay, so I'm moving on. If I have 36, how many groups of 4 can I make? Well, that's 9. 9 times 3 is 36. I subtract. Do I need to annex any zeros? No. This one was easy. Okay, so this first one is 0 and 9/10. All right, let's take a look at number 2. Okay, we have 22. Oh, no, it's not 22. It is 12 and 32 hundredths divided by 22. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and rewrite this as 12 and 32 hundredths divided by 22. So I'm going to go ahead and place my decimal point directly above. That's all we're doing, placing it directly above. And now I'm going to go ahead and solve this problem. So if I have 123, because I know I can't make a group of 12, I know that goes in, 5 times. Okay, 22, I might over on the side, 22 times 5, just to check the math, is 111. Okay, so 111, and I'm going to subtract 3, 13. Now take a look. I have 13, and I'm going to check, is that less than my divisor? Yes. So now I'm ready to bring down. And I have 2. So now I'm looking at it, and I'm like, 132. Well, that was close with 5, but what about if we did it by 6? 12. Oh, yeah, look at that. So if I do it by 6, 6 times 22 is 132. I subtract, and I'm left with 0 and 56 hundredths. That is perfect. So that answer is 0 and 56 hundredths. All right. Let's take a look at, I think we're going to stop on those because we're going to do some of them in class together, or I'm going to assign some extra for practices. So basically, remember the most important thing when we're dividing by a decimal, okay? So one more quick thing. When we're dividing by a decimal, by a whole number, okay? So we're taking a decimal, dividing it by a whole number. We are just moving that decimal point up, and then we're doing regular division, okay? Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers on Sundays? Divide, multiply, subtract, check, bring down, start over, okay? Key things to remember. So if you can do all those and remember those quirky little things that Mrs. Werner kind of talked about, then you should be pretty good. If you're making mistakes on your multiplication, again, you saw me on the side write 22 times 6. I was double checking my math. Okay, I'm not using a calculator. I have no calculator by me. All I have is my notes page that I'm working with, and that's it. So I had to double check my math. Absolutely 100% okay. All right, so good luck. Keep working hard. You guys got this.